Good morning. How many of you are looking for the appearance of abundance in your life? The appearance of abundance in our life. That's what we're doing. We're in a two-part series. Last week I spoke about true abundance, but we really dissected back to what is it that blocks us from the appearance of true abundance in our life. We spoke about relationships and letting go. We spoke about things that we're very attached to and letting go. We spoke about beliefs, those things that we know, often in our life ask us to reevaluate and at least for a little while, let them go. So what happens after we've let them go and we've begun to go through a purification process? Well, we open ourselves up. We've created a vacuum for something new to emerge. One of my favorite teachers, his name is Craig Hamilton. You may know his name. He was a co-editor of a magazine, sometime in the last 10 years. It was called What is Enlightenment? Anybody ever know that magazine? What is enlightenment? Lots of really great cutting-edge science and spirituality information. And so Craig Hamilton, I was very blessed to study with him and take a course. This is a quote from him, and I love the way he talks about enlightenment. And I invite you this morning to hear enlightenment as being a state of recognizing true abundance. He says one of the most commonly held ideas about enlightenment is that it's just about being in the present moment. There is spiritual truth in that, but you could say it's only a half-truth. For discovering the freedom of just simply being innocent awake in this moment is the first step. There's another dimension of spiritual life that's about movement forward. It's about learning how to ride the winds of change and participate in the conscious evolution of the future. We want to learn not just how to be okay with this moment as it is, but how to be a creative partner with life. We want to learn how to be effective in the world, how to generate things, how to make things happen, how to build collaboration with others in higher goals and projects. These are the two mystical paths on the spiritual journey. This morning, I invite us into an awareness of true abundance brings with it a responsibility to be part of that moving forward. There was a little collection of water bugs living maybe like in the pond that we have right here on our grounds. And they began to notice that one by one, they were crawling up the neck of a lily pad. For you see, they were water bugs and they'd never seen anything above the water. But they knew that as one of them crawled up the stem, they disappeared. So one particular water bug says, let's make a conviction. Whoever goes next promises to come back and tell us what's on the other side. And don't you know, just as soon as he'd finished saying that, it was his impulsion, his inner drive, his movement forward, and he began to rise and to climb up that stalk of the lily pad. Suddenly he realized he'd been thrown on top of a lily pad, and he woke, but realized he was much larger. He was a dragonfly. And so he began to fly around and loved this beautiful scenery. He said, oh, this is what I was created for. How exciting, how exciting. And then he tried to dive back down in the water, for he remembered his promise. What happens? He can't go. He's been transformed. He has seen the other side. He's walked in the knowing that there's more to life than what his friends know under that lily pad. He can't go back. True abundance tells us that it is okay to let go. It's okay not to know. And many times we can't go back. Many times we can't go back into a place of consciousness that tempts us to say, all of this is not true. There's not one presence and one power. This is not an abundant universe. No, once we began to explore and live a life looking, preparing, and setting our intention for true abundance, there is no going back. We can have roadblocks, and we talked about that last week. We can have obstacles that we need to be willing to chip away to find the blessing. But that's not turning around and going back. True abundance means that no matter what is happening, we remember that we are in the flow of creative source. We remember that that is not our human self, our egoic self that does the work, but it's the spirit within. I have a friend, and his name is Richard Levy. Some of you may know him. He's a Unity minister. Richard Levy was in a bicycle accident last year in June, and his recovery just continued to take a toll. And he went to the doctor a few weeks ago, and part of the preparation for a hip surgery was that he had to have all these different tests. And a CAT scan showed a very large cancerous tumor on his femur, and then another one on his 8th rib. Richard has decided not to go the traditional route of medication. Richard has decided that it's his time, and he's going to do it consciously. There's actually a wonderful meditation that he uses multiple times a day. For now, he's at home with his family, and he's in hospice care. For you see, what I know Richard knows about his own self and his life is that for him, this is the right choice. This is the no turning around. This is, I know that I believe what I teach, that there's only one presence and one power. Now let me be really clear. I am telling you the story of Richard's journey. I'm not telling you my interpretation of his journey, and I'm not interpreting that you should have a similar journey. But just as we look at characters in the Bible, we have characters in our life who model things for us. Richard is one of the funniest Unity ministers I've ever met. And so while there is sadness for our own awareness of loss, of letting go, there is a promise of something for Richard that he's already tapped into. Do you know what I'm saying? He's already tapped into the end product. He's already tapped into the true abundance of the world, and he is consciously choosing how he'll use his last few weeks. That's true abundance. So often we think about abundance as having things, getting things, making things happen. So I am in awe of my friend Richard. I don't know what choice I would make. We can speculate what choices we'd make, but until we are there, we don't know. And so I am in awe of him. What if in your life there are places where you know how you internally and instinctually respond, and yet this day you say, in this relationship or in this situation, I choose to remember that I am one in the source and I can create the next experience. I can create the next conversation. Remember in the power of the spoken word, that is where we have authority. When we choose to use what's in our mind to cultivate and to create. When we can really know that while many things are out of our control, we are aware of our mind. And in Unity, we teach one of the tools is affirmations and denials. So what will we deny this week? What power within a situation will we let go of? And remember that the power that is within us is greater. None of those water bugs, which, by the way, this was a loose telling from Richard Bach's book Illusions, none of those water bugs had any idea what was on the other side. And they wanted to know. Do you ever have that moment where you just want to know? I'm going to try that one more time. Do you ever have that moment where you just want to know? I'm like, I know I'm not alone in that one. David White, the poet, calls it making friends with the unknown. Making friends with the unknown because we know that the vibration of true abundance is within us and all around us. Next week at Unity Institute, out at Unity Village, where the seminary is, there will be a graduation. And I knew that graduation was coming, but I did not know that my friend would be graduating. For you see, this past week I needed to send an email to a colleague, and I couldn't find it in my own address book in my computer, so I went online to the church. It's Unity Church of Overland Park, Kansas. It was a place that I worked several jobs ago. And I was like, well, I know that person still works there. I can send an email via their website. I was so shocked by what I found that I don't even think I ever sent the email. I think I completely forgot about that. For on their staff page, there was a picture of my friend named Brandon. And it was at the top of the staff page, which is where the executive ministry team is. Without hesitation, without embarrassment, I just simply grabbed the phone, called, dialed his extension, and Brandon answered the phone. I said, Brandon, this is Jennifer Holder. He's like, I said, don't you remember who he's like, yeah, I remember you. You were the one who hired me at Unity Church of Overland Park. I said, that's right. I hired Brandon 5 years ago to be the director of the youth and family ministry. I said, Brandon, how is it that your picture now says you're on the executive ministry team? He said, well, Jennifer, I'm graduating June the 5th. I said, you're graduating from what? He said, seminary. I said, that's not possible. I was just there 2 years ago, and I hired you to replace me. And he said, oh, Jennifer, no. I'm married, I have a baby on the way, and I'm getting ready to graduate. I said, and you must be some kind of manifester to be on the executive team of one of the 5 largest Unity churches in the movement. I said, and you're not even ordained yet. I said, I want to rub up next to you and get some of that on me. There was silence at the end. I said, Brandon, I was just being funny. Don't run from me at graduation next week. He laughed. And then I said, may I share that story, that prosperous story? Because what I know about Brandon is he was simply in the right place at the right time. Open. He went from 10 hours a week to being one of the 3 team ministers. For that church does not have a senior minister. They're doing a different style of leadership where there's a team of ministers. Isn't that amazing? And so when we find ourselves not in that kind of flow, what are some tools that we can do to bring ourselves back into alignment? Number 1 is a phrase that I use quite frequently. I tag it on at the end of my intention. This or something better. Now that's been a controversial phrase in Unity for many years, but I know it's been around for a long time. And here's what I believe about that phrase as it's used in a prayer or an affirmation. This or something better, in my mind, means let the places in my mind, heart, and perception that are run by my ego, let it go. Because sometimes we think we set an intention and we let it go, but we don't. We hold on just like a water bug. And we don't know that what's grand is on the other side because it feels scary. So when we feel scared, we can use that phrase, I intend to experience greater wealth in my personal finances, this or something better. And I add, now or when it's time. So often we really, truly believe that right now is the perfect time, and we don't know. We don't know. So that's one tool. This or something better, now or when it's time. Another tool, call a friend. Call a grounded spiritual friend. Come to church, pray with a prayer chaplain. They have on purple badges. Opening ourselves up. Opening ourselves up to the awareness of true abundance. There's a verse in Malachi that says, "Prove me now." And that's my charge to each of you this week. Prove the universe now is abundant. Open your eyes, look for it. It's here. Not only the prosperity of our own country, but the prosperity of our individual experiences. To come together, to have friends, to be in relationship, to have family, to know that life isn't perfect, but to know that we can prove that the universe is truly abundant now. And if finances are of a great struggle, I invite you to find somewhere that you are spiritually fed. Give. Give of your time, give of your money. Not because I'm telling you to, but because Prove Me Now says, whatever you invest and let go will be returned to you in a different format, most often a different format. Prove me now. And I want to hear about your stories. So here's the other thing. Sometimes amazing things happen and you just don't know who to send it to. Or you've shared it with your family, but you want to share it again. Please send me an email. Send me an email. Let me know how you are proving the universe is abundant right now. I promise I won't make you stand up and speak in front of everybody unless you ask to. Because part of why we're in community together is to remind each other that we are creating in the flow. We're creating in the flow together. And isn't that a wonderful image? We sang about weaving. We affirm peace. We listen to Jennifer say a few words, tell a bad joke, and then we go off into the busyness of the week. Don't forget, prove me now. Namaste.